What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about learning to trust men again. Listen, if you have questions, if you need coaching, if you need a phone call, go to girltalkwithguys.com. You can get in touch with me personally there. If you DM me on Instagram or if you hit me in my comment section with a long question, you probably won't get a reply because I'm way too busy and there are hundreds and hundreds of those a week, so I can't keep up with those. If you want something answered and you want to make sure you get to me, you need to go to my website, girltalkwithguys.com, and click on either email Kev Hick or talk with Kev Hick and set up a phone call, video call, or some email advice. That's how you get to me. Anyway, I'm still answering questions from my comment section. This question says, "Hey Kev, my question is, how do you learn to trust men again, especially when you have a lot of past trauma being in unhealthy, toxic relationships?" The short answer to that question is, you can't learn how to trust men again if you don't learn how to trust yourself. See, in those unhealthy, toxic relationships, you accepted a bunch of shit that you shouldn't have accepted. You accepted a bunch of behavior that you should have never allowed into your relationship or into your life. You've done a lot of things that you knew you weren't supposed to be doing. You've betrayed yourself so many times that now you don't trust men, when really the problem is you don't trust yourself. You don't trust your own judgment. You don't trust your own choices. You don't trust your own discernment for good reason. You need to get to a place where you can trust your decision making, okay? A lot of times that looks like you having more self-control once you start to like a guy. Just because you like a guy isn't a good enough reason to sacrifice everything you have to give and throw it all on the table. Sometimes you need to sit back and watch, be vigilant, learn to study a man before you add and apply all of these emotions and this imagination about the future and what the possibilities are, all the potential in the world. Not realized is useless. No, you don't trust men, but it's because you don't trust your judgment with men. There are plenty of good men out here, but you haven't picked good men. You've picked shitty ones and had shitty relationships and offered shitty things to your own relationships. You haven't been a good partner because you haven't required a good partner. You can't be good to a bad partner. That's just not how that works. If you're good to a bad partner, it's because you're betraying yourself. Right? So you're always a bad partner either to yourself or to your spouse who's toxic, right? But sometimes you bring that toxicity because you have shitty relationship after toxic relationship after unhealthy relationship. And then you show up to a new relationship with all those habits, patterns, and practices that you've learned from those terrible relationships. And then you continue the cycle in your new relationship. You need to sit down and take inventory of your traumatic past and relationships. What have you let a man do to you that he shouldn't have been able to do to you? How have you let a man treat you that he shouldn't have been able to treat you? How have you treated men that you shouldn't have treated them that way? How have you messed up in your relationships? What have you contributed to your own life, your own dating life, and your own relationships? Too often it looks like everybody else. Everybody else is at fault, but you're the common denominator in your relationships. So yes, you've probably dealt with some ain't shit men, but how often were you the ain't shit woman, right? How often did you bring that type of energy to a relationship or a situationship, right? How often did you contribute to the terrible dynamic in your relationship because you were comfortable there, because it was familiar, because it's what you do? A lot of y'all women need some relationship rehab because you become the type of energy that you've experienced from guys. And then you don't trust guys, but it lives in you to be as toxic as what you've received from men. It's not always the man being toxic. Sometimes it's you. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know who's hurt you. I don't know who you've hurt. I don't know how many nice guys you have in your friend zone. Most women have one or two. But I do know this. If you've had a lot of toxic relationships, a lot of unhealthy relationships, you have stains on you from those relationships. It's impossible for you to get into a new relationship without addressing those things that have stuck themselves to you over time. You don't trust men because you haven't traditionally chosen well. But that's not necessarily men. Ain't shit men are going to be out here. But there's many good men out here. There's many decent individuals out here. There's many good human beings with balls out here. As much as people try to say all men are dogs, all men cheat, all men this, all men that, all of them women have some friend zone guy who would die for them and they don't like him because he's not an alpha male. And then they go chase these guys who abuse them, who cheat on them, who talk down to them, who slap the shit out of them. They go chase those guys. And then ultimately they say, well, I don't trust men anymore. Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't at all. You've not met a man who is trustworthy that you've given yourself to. You've discarded the trustworthy. Your experience is your belief. Your paradigm is shaped by your experiences. You are the sum total of your experiences. It makes sense that you don't trust men, but that's because you don't trust you to make the right decision with men. What I would like you to do is do the opposite of what you would normally do. Literally, whatever type of guy you normally would go after, you need to stop yourself. If that feels good, if that feels familiar, that's probably a red flag that you're going in a similar direction that you've always gone. This isn't about trusting men, it's about learning to trust your decision making. Maybe you need to watch more of my videos, maybe you need to watch more of somebody else's videos, but you need to get to a place where your decision making is more sound and more trustworthy. That way it doesn't matter if you trust men or not, because you trust you to protect you. You don't have to trust men to get out of a toxic relationship before it affects you. You don't have to trust men to move away from something unhealthy before it stains you. But because you've stayed too long and you've participated too long and you've endured too long, you don't trust yourself to escape those things or to protect yourself against those things. So when they start to occur, they occur for a long time, which does a lot of damage. I don't have to trust women to make smart decisions, because if I meet a woman and she ain't about shit, I'm moving on. Or at least if I was single. I'm married, but if I was single, I'm not taking shit from no woman. So I don't necessarily have to trust women, because I trust me to take care of me. I trust me to do the right thing. I'm going to hold me down. Too many of y'all will take shit for as long as a man will give you shit and then discard you and then say, oh, I don't trust men anymore. You spend way too much time over there taking shit. You spend way too much time over there participating, and now you don't trust men, when really you just chose a terrible man, you selected a terrible man, and then you took shit for too long. And you've done that too many times. But you are the common denominator in your choice. Women are the choosers. They grant access. If you granted access to a man to you emotionally, sexually, physically, intellectually, spiritually, and all of these things, in all of these ways, and he wasn't good enough, and you didn't get him out as soon as you realized he wasn't good enough, your decision making, your discernment, your choice making is a problem. Not necessarily the trustworthiness of a stranger that's also a male. You have to learn how to make yourself proud with the choices you make with men. And I haven't talked to you, I haven't counseled you, I haven't spoken to you on the phone, so I don't know what that looks like for you. But if you want to talk, go to girltalkwithguys.com and we can talk about it. To learn how to trust men again, you have to learn how to trust yourself. You have to learn how to make better decisions. You have to learn how to get away from people when they reveal themselves to be toxic, to be unhealthy. You have to choose a man based on his impact on you, his effect on you, how he treats you, instead of choosing a man based on him being your type or being sexy or making you horny or whatever however you're choosing men. You need to choose men based on a whole different criteria, because you're not getting the functionality of a relationship. Again, if I had a tumultuous experience every time I was in a relationship, I wouldn't trust women either, but I also wouldn't trust me. And that is more impactful. There are always going to be good people and bad people in this world. But if you always select the bad ones, then that says something about you and less about the world. There are ways to get around that, but I don't know your specifics. So again, go to girltalkwithguys.com, set up a call or an email service with me. I hope this gives you food for thought, but your issue is specific to you, so I had to talk to you to give you more. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Follow me at KFake24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.